Hi everyone, welcome to Craft Addict K. I'm Carla.
And I'm Sam.
And today we are going to show you a tour of our floss and tell you how we store it. So this will be a quick video and Sam is going to run the camera. We're not in our usual setup and I'm going to try and talk you through how we have our floss organized. So give us a few minutes. We'll be right back. So I'm back. We're going to show you how we have our Silky Threads, how we have our fancy floss, and our DMC floss. So something that we use you may find beneficial. This has evolved over time. First of all, we'll start with the Silky Threads. I was fortunate enough to acquire two cases similar to this that had the Silky Thread in it. Drop some. And these are nice and wonderful, but they do come apart and I just didn't like them. They were hard to find my floss. So while at StitchCon and I was shopping at our local Joann's there at Cincinnati, they had a bin. This is an Art Super Satchel series. I like this a lot better. You can see the colors from the side. What I liked about this is I can open it up, I can see all the numbers. Sam, you might want to come in so you can like show down here. You can see all the numbers. I also got some multi-use labels that I was going to actually write the numbers on and put the label on the very top. These are little circles, as you can tell, and I got these I think from my local Dollar Tree. But I can see the colors a lot easier. These actually, you can pick them up. Take them with you if you want. I only purchased one because I wanted to try it out, and that one was not enough for all the Silky Thread I managed to get. My sister was able to get for me on sale. So that is how we do our Silky Thread. And I will transition all of them over to these cases, but I'm using my Joann coupons wisely, and when I have a 50% off, I try and look and see if I can find this, because I think this stores better for me. I can put it on my shelf in my closet or, you know, in my workspace. So I will be transitioning to this and away from this. So, so that's about the Silky Threads. While I was we went on, I'm sorry, I'm really jumbled up and forgive me. It has been nonstop, and that's why Samantha and I are doing this video together, is because she had a really busy weekend. This is the first that I've had a chance, and my eyes are dilated because I just got back from the eye doctor appointment. So my vision is not 100%, but I wanted to get this out. So, so I'm going to set the Silky Threads off to the side. We went to a flea market over the weekend, and I was fortunate enough. And the reason why I brought this is because it's another case. They have this at Michael's. It's a two-sided case, and this happens to have a lot more Silky Threads in it. And I have some embroidery floss. I have not used this. It's brand new. I just got it Saturday. Rogers, Ohio had their monthly Saturday flea market. This was one of the items that was there. It was $15. This is full of Silky Threads. So I don't even know how many full and partials. I mean, I don't know how many I have here, but I will be organizing this and adding it to my next case whenever I get that next case. And this one is two-sided, so you can open up both sides. And it's, you know, got layers in here on both sides. So, and these, again, these will go into my other cases. Okay? So, Silky Threads, any questions? Be sure to do a comment below. I'll be sure to go through it. One of the things I used to do, Samantha, are we still good?
Yep.
DMC Floss. I want to talk about DMC Floss, because one of the things I used to do is I was a bobbinator. So, this is actually, you'll see, I put a little label on here, DMC Primary Floss. I actually have two of these, because when I bobbinated, I realized I had multiple of the same skeins, and I was working on getting a complete set. I have since gifted this over to Samantha, and she is using my bobbinated floss. For me, and I know there's a lot of people out there that bobbinate, but for me, I found that I felt like my threads were kinkier, and I was getting more knots when I was trying to stitch with them. So I really didn't like the kinks in the bobbination, but a lot of people do. This I saw on Stitching Mama on her YouTube channel, and she has a complete set of DMC in hers. Of course, Samantha's got some pulled out. You can see that there's some holes here because she's probably got them in kits. But she does have them bobbinated, and some of them have stickers. I caution you if you're going to put the number stickers on, because if you have it for any length of time, those stickers will fall off as it ages, and then you don't know what you have. So I highly recommend writing the number on in something more permanent if you're going to do that. So this also is a two-sided system, and this was the container itself I picked up at Michael's. Again, with the 50% off coupon, I think I got it for $10 or less. I'm not really 100% sure because I had purchased it a long time ago. And you can see here, even one of these stickers come off because this is an aged group. So somewhere along the line, there's a sticker missing off of one of those flosses. So I do have a Dmc Floss cards that have the colors. So if Samantha is so inclined, she can look that up and figure it out. So this is somebody that wants to floss or wants to bobbinate. It's a great way to store your DMC. It does not take up a lot of room, as you can tell. This is a whole kit. So, you know, it doesn't take up a lot of room. At least it's one skein of each. Okay. Well, I decided that really wasn't for me. So I went another route. And what I did was, let's see. Pull this over on this side. Sorry. So you'll see I have this plastic filing container system. I purchased this at Walmart. My local Walmart had them. In the way I stored my DMC floss has evolved over the last year. I had them on hangers hanging in my closet because I saw a Flosstube video and I thought that was the way to go. And it was, and it worked, but then it really wasn't as portable, and it was taking up space in my closet that I wanted to use for other things. So I went to this system. So this is something I came up with. I don't know if there's other YouTube or Flosstube videos out there that have the same thing. I've not come across it. So I'm hoping that I'm making all this clear. So anyways, I have one for my DMC floss. I have one for my specialty flosses. And I'm going to let you know what I do. I typically will put my floss on thread drops. I have recently, at one point, I purchased thread drops. I wanted to try them. I purchased these, and they're blank on the back. Came with a little gem. I purchased these on an Etsy shop, and they're fine to use. But what I found is I'm a little rougher than the average stitcher, apparently, because I was pulling through and breaking the papers that they were printed on. So they're quality paper, but there's not a big space there. And so when I was pulling threads, I was actually tearing the paper. So I use them, but I don't use them. I use them in a project. I don't use them for storage per se.
I have no idea how you rip that.
I have. Samantha does really a lot better, but I have ripped these. But they work. What I have found has been my favorite by far, and there's only one shop I have found them at, and that has been at the Needle in Hand in Boardman, Ohio. And I actually purchased all that she had when I was there and asked her to please order some more, because this is my actual last pack that I have. So these are thread drops, and I like them because they are wider at the base. They are definitely more thicker. As you can tell, they come on a ring, and I have not torn these yet, and I can write on them. There's a shiny side and there is a dull side, and I write on it DMC and what the number is, and that I started off in my projects. So if I have it left, okay, so I finished my project and I have, you know, a DMC left, then it comes back to my system. So this is my Dmc System, and I'm going to take the lid off. Ooh. All right, Samantha, come on in. This is my full set of DMC, for the most part. I'm still got a couple of little ones I pick up here and there, but for the most part. And this is what I've done. Is initially, you're going to see, here's an example. So I took a hanging file, I cut it off here. I punched holes with my hole punch across, and then I wrote the numbers of the actual DMC skein. These are the newer flosses. So I know, and you can match it up, but here's the paper. But if the paper would come off, and I know it's on that ring by that number, I know that that's what that one is, okay? And I just take these little rings, and I purchased these on Amazon. They're small little split rings. They come apart like such, and then they go back together like so. And that's how I have them secured on here, okay? But like I said, this has evolved. So prior to that, I was putting them in my closet. So that's where you'll see this. So this is, and they're in numerical order, and they're in numerical order from front to back. So some of them I have multiple skeins. What is this? Number 415. I have multiple skeins. You can see back here. I have 3 skeins of that, all on the same hook. But I also must have been using that in a project, and I had this left from my project. And these are some thread drops that I made on my own. Not very good maker, obviously, great big square. But I had some left from that project, so I went back to putting my floss back. I did not use a paper plate, Shirley. Did not use no paper plate. So, at one point, I took hole punches. You can see here's another piece I had left, and it was like a punch out that I did with a paper punch, and I just put a hole punch in here, and I had wrote the number on it. So this is 435, and I had this left over. So that's, when I put them on my thread drops, I typically cut them at an 18-inch length, and that's what I stitch on. That's my comfort length. Whatever you want to use is on whatever you want to do. But you can see here, I must have had 2 projects with this 413 because, and I must have finished, I have 18 finishes so far this year. So you can tell I have this one from a project, and then I had another one since I started using the thread drops from another project. But they're on here, so I have them and I know what I have. So that gives you the ones I haven't used, the ones that are in other projects, okay? And that is my system. And this is taped on because this is what I had going over the hangers. I used a white hanger, and I just had that taped over top of the hanger, and this is how it hung in my closet. But I decided to go with this system. I like this a lot better. I hope that this is helpful for you. I can tell you when I go to kit up a project, I can very easily go through here and pull out my floss. And what I normally do, so I can keep track of what floss I need, I have X-Stitch app, but I also just do something as simple as the notes on my phone. And if I take the last skein off, if I take the last one off, I put that number on my phone, even though I know I took the last one and put it in a kit, because I want to put it back in here. I work on multiple projects at a time, and I want it back in here. At one point in time, during my days, you can see this little clear washer. Can you see that? Okay, so at one point in time, I was using little washers that somebody I saw. They said to try that, and I wrote on it in black Sharpie what the number was. So that's, you know, I'm sure whenever I have to use that again, it's going to go on a thread drop because I really was not a big fan of the washers. It was hard to see the numbers. It was nice when it was on a ring to be able to cycle through, but you couldn't see the numbers very easily. So, and they all fit back in there very nicely. They don't get hung up. So you can tell if you come in here, Samantha, just a little bit closer. So we can kind of go through, so you can see my numbers that I've been using. I can definitely, you know, numbers I haven't used. If I pull this up and I have an empty hook, here we go. I must have had some extras in there and hadn't had cards made for them. But if I would pull this up and there would be an empty one, which recently I just went through and just double checked to make sure I didn't have any empties. I think I have a couple that I still am looking for to get that the shop didn't have. Like here, number 3761. I leave the ring on there, but I know that I need to get 3761 and it looks like 3756 is in the, and they may be in a project, but I don't.
One of my projects.
It could be in one of your projects, but I don't like to have an empty skein because I'm one of those midnight kidder-uppers in the middle of the night on a Saturday night, and I'm very frustrated when I don't have what I need to at least start something. So I know that if I'm doing a project that requires multiple skeins of a color, like a Haid project, I may go and get the multiple color skeins because Haid tells you how much you need. I may buy that all in one lot, so I don't have to worry about dye lot changes for that specific project. But for the most part, my projects only require a skein, if that, sometimes two, and I'm working on it in succession enough that I'm not really concerned about changing of dye lots. So that is, look, everybody's got white. So that is how I store my DMC floss. Okay? Good with that, Samantha?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I did the same thing with my fancy floss. And you all do not laugh because honestly, I didn't know that there was floss other than DMC until recently. So I do not have a big stash of fancy floss, hand-dyed floss, whatever you want to call it. So I have plenty of growth room here. And I get them as I come across them. Oh, got this in here backwards. But to give you an idea, this one is a little bit different because I don't have a big fancy floss stash. They're broken up into sections of what I did have. So you can see I have color and cotton. I don't have a lot. I know it looks kind of sad. There's no numbers. I was trying to actually keep these in alphabetical order, but because I don't have a big stash, it's easy enough to look through mine and to see what it is. If I had a full set, I could write the names and replace it as I needed to replace it. But at this point, I can just pull it out and look at a glance. I know, it's sad, but it is what it is, okay? And then I have Weeks Dye Works, and as you can see, I've used some, and I have it, oh, these are actually Valdani's on here. These are 2 Valdani threads that I must have used for a project. And it says Valdani P7 Withered Blue, and I have a Valdani 507 Rich Wine. My LNS is the needle in hand. That's the closest shop to me, and it's about a 45-minute drive. And she deals completely with Valdani and Anchor threads. So I do have a couple of projects with Valdani threads kitted, and when I get done, they'll get added into here. I also have some Weeks Dye Works, and I've been color coding them at one time because, you know, my type A, because red was Classic Color Works, purple seems to be Valdani at the time, and then the Weeks Dye Works is the gray, and it's the same thing. I just used a hanging file and cut off the bottom portion, and you can see here's a Weeks Dye Works hazelnut, and it's on a thread drop that I must have used in a project. Same thing here with the linen. I used it in a project. I also took just the Weeks Dye Works and hooked it on their own little hooks through the hole. So if that helps, I hope it helps somebody. And you know what? If it falls down, it's not a big deal. You just pick it back up. I'm not sure what this one is, to be honest. Oh, this is an anchor thread. I must have one anchor. So, like I said, my specialties are not all that. But, you know, I'm new. I'm growing. It will grow, I'm sure, over the time. This is Gentle Art fabric, and like a lot of these were ones that I had pulled from kits and purchased that were, you know, to go into a pattern that I must have used, and now I've put them back. So these are Classic Color Works. Again, I don't have a lot of them, so it's not hard for me to look at them and to see, and I try to keep them in alphabetical order. Some of you seasoned stitchers are probably laughing right now because I have so little, but I'm okay with that. DMC works, and as I grow in my stitching, I'm sure my items here will also grow. So that's Classic Color Works. So I have some couple of little miscellaneous ones that will go in here, but you know, for the most part, that's my storage system. And if you look down in here, I've got lots of growth room. If you compare the two between DMC, and you compare that to what I have in the fancy floss, I have lots of growing room, and that's okay. All right, one last way you can store floss, and I tried this. It wasn't for me. It may be for you guys. And I actually, when I was at the Rogers Flea Market, this was also at the same woman's station, was a kitted up project that she never finished. She started it, only did about this much of it, and didn't finish it. It was $3. I was buying it. I didn't care. There is plastic. These are the plastic floss cards, and I've already given these to Samantha that she can use in her stash, because you can also purchase these as cardboard. But she also had a book like this, and it's got bags in it. Now, she didn't label any of her floss. These are kind of those floss away bags that you hear people talk about. I've used them. I have some projects actually kitted up in floss away bags. I was not a fan because it gets really bulky really fast. And I used project bags, and I didn't like all that extra bulk in it. I would much rather have a teardrop. And I gotta say, this is probably not the best example. This came from some of my DMC floss that was on bobbins that I unbobbinated and put on my own handmade thread drops out of cardstock and paper, and I just punched a hole in it. And this is for my Haid project, so it's a bigger ring of floss. This is another project that I'm doing, and you can see the difference. I put a little card on it that tells me this is my early Americans and what thread I was using it for, and it actually gives me, these are the thread drops that I like. You can see how much thinner it is. It's not bulky. There's nothing wrong with, if you like the floss away bags, I encourage you to use them, whatever works for you. This just wasn't a system that I liked, but it can be done, and some people will store these in like shoe boxes and different ways that they can put the bags up and down. It wasn't for me. So the whole premise of this video was to share with you what I found works for me. Hopefully you find that any of these tips are helpful for you, and as you're thinking about how to store your floss, you'll give it a thought. This is what's working for me now. It may change, but right now I'm really happy with this system. It's not cumbersome. It keeps my floss from getting tangled. It hangs freely. I can look at it easily. I can find it easily. And you know what? If I want to take this with me to StitchCon in the back of my car, I can take it. If I want to take it to a retreat that I'm driving to, I can take my whole DMC pack and go to retreat and put this in my car. And I have everything there that I need. So there you go. So I thank you for joining us. I promise you Samantha and I will be doing a video later on this week when she doesn't have so much homework, that we can share some of our projects that we've been working on. And thank you so much for subscribing. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to our channel. Again, we're Craft Addict K. It's an underscore craft underscore addict K, because we are multi-crafters, but we primarily discuss cross stitch on our channel. And so we hope that you'll join us, and happy stitching, everyone.